I probably have a Russian soul that I didn't know was actually there. Here I am, and I guess I don't want to leave. So the Allied powers saved the world, and Russia is the villain, and the Soviet Union was a terrible place, and Russian people are cold. We were fed with CNN, Sky News. We were basically fed this idea that Russian people are cold, evil, and tough. Feels like I am safer than any other place that I've been in the world.
This guy is a paid actor. Russia racist towards darker skinned people. What's up, everybody? This is Igor in Russia, and I'm in Moscow. This is Victory Park, and I explore as a foreigner traveling to Moscow and Russia, St. Petersburg, all kinds of places in Russia, showing you ins and outs. I'm gonna be recording with this video with a Zimbabwean guy living in Russia, Moscow. Interesting story. Man, what a location. What a location, guys. Simply amazing. This is Park Победы Park, Victory Park. I've been there before, a few times actually, but I decided to come here on my third day, the last day before I leave back to St. Petersburg. And there he is, actually. I'm gonna say hi.
Hi, I am Andy the Afro Lev, and I am from Zimbabwe, and I have been living in Russia for almost 1 year.
So I'm here with Andy Afrolev on YouTube, and we're gonna have a nice talk. Great to have you here. Thanks for waking up early to do this one.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
They don't know actually that it's actually noon, but anyways.
Yeah, so I actually came here because of my wife. It was an act of love, I would say. I never actually thought that I'd end up in Russia, but here I am, because I guess I would follow her to the ends of the earth. And I ended up falling in love with the place. And ever since, I have been making content about Russia. And I guess I've just been inspired to talk about the place in a different perspective. And I would say that I probably have a Russian soul that I didn't know was actually there. But as the years pass by and I learn the language, I guess the place becomes a place that I can call home. So I was born in Botswana. My passport is Zimbabwean. And in Botswana, Zimbabweans are not really the people that are liked that much. So yeah, my parents are from Zimbabwe. I was born in Botswana. So even though I was actually born there, people always still refer to me as Zimbabwean. So I always run with the fact that I'm Zimbabwean, but I was born in Botswana, and that's where I grew up. Very grateful for the place. Actually, it's a tourist hub. Lots of Frenchmen, Russians, Spaniards, lots of people come into the country just to view the delta, which is basically this place where the tributaries of, I would say, the Okavango Delta pour into a specific region, and all the animals come and drink at the same time. So you can have a lion and an antelope sharing the same spot, and then afterwards they go back to normal during the drought. So it's a very good tourist destination, tourist hub. And I ended up in China because of my dad, I would say. My sister went first, and she was studying medicine. They wanted me to be a doctor, believe it or not. And actually, I was going to go to Russia first, because Russia, of course, has amazing medical courses. And then I decided to go to China to follow my sister. I studied there for 4 years, and I worked there for 2 to 3 years. And I am fluent in Chinese. 对啊，我会中文，你想我说什么？ And I met my Russian wife there. COVID happened, she couldn't come back. So I decided to basically follow her. And here I am, and I guess I don't want to leave. So that's the story.
What kind of fears did you have about moving to Russia? Because that's a whole different thing to study or to visit, but to actually live here. Stereotypes and stuff.
Okay, so, wow. Stereotypes, various things. I think we were basically fed what Cambridge books feed you. And that's the historical idea that the Allied powers saved the world and Russia is the villain and the Soviet Union was a terrible place or terrible period, and Russian people are cold, and that was the mindset which we were dragged into. And generally our news, we were fed with CNN, Sky News. We had no other form of news. It was plastered all over our walls. Every television station is basically pro-American because of the ties with America. So we didn't really have any other view of Russian people other than they're cold and what Russia is painted as in Hollywood films. It's always the Russian gangster named, I don't know, Sergei or Igor, right? And we were basically fed this idea that Russian people are cold, evil, and tough. I came to Russia, and I guess I got the extended version of another side of what these textbooks were projecting. I managed to see Russia from a different angle. I've never really been stuck on the idea of textbooks because I love history, and I knew that there was another side, but I never felt the need to go further because I never thought that I would end up in Russia. But I will say one thing was true. Russian people are tough as nails. Really tough people that love their country. And actually a lot of people said that it would be extremely dangerous here. But I feel safer here than any other place in the world that I've lived in. In my childhood, I've witnessed a lot of things that I probably shouldn't have witnessed. And this is a different change of pace because I can just walk down the street at night anytime I want to. I can leave my bags over there right now as we're recording, and I don't feel like I am in danger. And that is very interesting because, you know, I came from a period of time, especially where I was living, when people got their own guns and it was a lot of noise. There was a lot of noise in the background. There were people committing crimes, and I was basically cocooned by my parents because we were surrounded by this big wall with an electric fence and multiple things. But I viewed some things I probably shouldn't have viewed. And being in a place like this, it's almost like it's extremely calm. I don't have to panic. I don't need to say, okay, I can't leave my bags on the side. It feels like I am safer than any other place that I've been in the world. China was also pretty safe, but I feel like my heart is here, of course, because of my wife. And I think all the stereotypes are slowly being broken, and I covered them on my channel too. But I think the biggest stereotype that has been broken is that Russian people are cold. And that is absolute nonsense. It is far from the truth. I have met some of the nicest people ever, and you might not get smiled at initially by a Russian person, but when they smile at you and when they become your friend, they're your friend for life.
Игорь, он местный. Да. Москвич.
Темноту, что ли?
Да, москвич.
Братан, лапы держи.
You do know that these comments are gonna get you like some kind of a label that's a propaganda label. This guy is a paid actor. This KGB is very popular, even though it hasn't existed for 30 years. And you probably get those on your channel as well. But what can you say to those people if there is something to be said even?
I would say to the people that have a different perspective, it's okay to have a different perspective, but it's also good to be aware that there is another version of a story that you're not aware of. Just because somebody has a different mindset and ideology, it doesn't mean that they're crazy. It just means that they have seen something that you haven't. So I think if you find yourself arguing with me, or I look like I am funded by the government, disclaimer, I'm not. This is just from my heart because I see things that are real, I share them to you, and if you disagree, I am really okay with showing you what the truth is, because actually the slogan of my channel is roaring truths to preserve your pretty voice. I'm called the Afro Lev, which is basically the African lion, and I roar truths so people don't have to. A lot of my friends wanted to make a channel too, but they kind of get annoyed by these comments, but I'm welcoming them. Call me what you want, but if you want to see the truth, I'm here.
One thing that everybody is probably thinking coming from the West, because there's a lot of officially there is no racism in the West in a way, but you see if you're on the ground, there's always like certain situations daily. How about Russia? Is Russia racist towards darker skinned people in York? What's your experience?
Well, being black in Russia is actually, it feels like nothing is different, to be honest. It feels like I am just in a place that I am welcomed and I am just here and I can roam the streets. I'm not harassed. I'm not called out because of the color of my skin. I basically have the ability to walk around anywhere I want. And I would say that the measurement of how welcoming Russian people are is probably my wife's family. Because when I was going to marry her, a lot of people told me that marrying a Russian woman is a bad idea. Her family will not accept you. You're going to go to Russia and they're going to make you feel weird. It's one of the most racist places in the world. That's what they told me. But when I got here, honestly, especially in Moscow, I'm not going to speak for everyone else. I can just speak from my experience. I have not experienced anything racist, and her family has made me feel extremely welcomed. Actually, they are kinder to me than the place that I used to live, because they're not judging me for being Zimbabwean. You know, they're just treating me like any other person that is a part of the family. And I think that a lot of people have the idea that Russia is extremely racist. And maybe you might go to another channel and you might get a different opinion. But for me personally, I don't even feel like I'm in a foreign country. It feels like the people just welcome me and they do not stereotype me. And I'm not going to be, I don't know, subjected to police brutality or something like that. I just feel safe.
Do they stop you like they stop Caucasus people from Caucasus based on face value?
Actually, no. It's funny because every time I have passed through security, some of the people just smile at me or wave at me, or they just don't acknowledge my presence, which is amazing because I lived in China, as I said before. And I guess being a black man in China is very dramatic. Everybody's looking at you, they're staring you down, they have so many questions. But in Russia, I actually feel like I don't exist. And that is a positive thing. That's not me saying, oh my God, I don't exist, I feel terrible. No, I feel like a normal person in a population of I don't even know how many people in Russia. And I just feel normal. I don't have to feel different. So in terms of what I do, currently I'm still in the process of getting my residency. I am here on a family visa, here with my wife, and I'm trying to practice my Russian so that I can take the TRP examination and I can end up working in, I don't know, maybe in foreign trade, because international business and trade is actually my major. And there are a lot of companies here that actually want an individual that speaks Chinese and Russian. So I think that could probably be my big break. But in terms of jobs, I have many friends that work in different fields. I know DJs, I know people that are teachers, I know people that are in the field of even delivery, believe it or not. So Russia is a place that is full of different opportunities. Of course, I would say that if you know Russian, the opportunities are limitless for you.
Russia with some other language combined.
Yes, basically combining two languages, you're an asset. Because for me, especially the field that I want to go into, a lot of the companies say, hey, look, if you know Russian and you already know Chinese, you would be such an asset to the company. So I feel like if you want to thrive in Russia, the first thing is you have to learn the language so that you have more options. But I know some friends that are in IT. I know some people that have acting gigs as well. Some people that act in different theater, plays, etc. I know event planners. There's always something to do, of course, because Russia is so vast. But I guess the easiest job for you to get would probably be an English teacher, especially if you can speak English well. And believe it or not, Chinese has become a very popular thing here too. So that could also be your chance. I mean, if you're somebody that knows Chinese, or perhaps you know another language, you could also teach in a foreign language school. But I will tell you to learn Russian so that even if you want to dive into a different field that maybe is closer to your major, at least you know the language. So you can apply, you can talk, and you can impress the people there that want to take you in.
And what about Moscow, outside Moscow?
Outside of Moscow, yes. So I haven't actually traveled to many places, but I was in Yaroslavl in January, and it is also extremely beautiful. I don't know why there's this consistent idea that Moscow and St. Petersburg are the only beautiful places in Russia, because I literally have a bucket list of places that I want to go to. And I guess Nizhny Novgorod would also be a place that I really want to visit. And there are various other cities around Russia. And I guess, of course, if you watch Igor's channel, you will probably see more of these places. But don't be fooled. Just because Moscow is one of the most beautiful cities in the world, it doesn't mean that Moscow is the only beautiful city in Russia. Trust me, there are corners of Russia that you will be amazed by. Not just by architecture, right? But also the nature, Baikal, Mormont, all these places. You can see different areas that just leave you captivated.
How Russians and are you excited about possible relations getting better between America and Russia? Not necessarily the West and Russia, but America and Russia. What do Russians say about this? What's the general feel to it? Or is it, do they believe it's going to happen, or is it just good news before everything goes back to unfortunate normality in a way?
That is a very good question. I've actually had this conversation with my wife because I'm not American, of course, but I have a lot of American friends that live here, and my wife is, of course, Russian. And we have discussed this at length. It's nice to see that there's a change of pace. There's some diplomacy between the countries. And my wife personally is not fully convinced. She kind of wants to see what happens in the next few months or the next few years, because this has happened before. After the First World War, Second World War, there are little ties there. You're not the enemy, and then you are the enemy, and then you're friends, and you're not friends. So I'm more convinced by seeing actions. But I would say that for a long time, it hasn't been this closely knitted. It has been weirdly, I would say, close. The relationship is a bit different now, I would say. And I've seen many different articles, and I also watch various things. And it seems like Russia is not the bad guy anymore, so to speak. But I'm more curious to see the actions that come with it. And I think I'm a man of action. That's why I vlog. That's why I make all these videos. So just like my wife, I am not fully convinced, but I am happy to see some diplomacy. It makes things calmer, and I would prefer that over anything, to be honest. Okay, so if you want to find my content, you can hop onto my YouTube channel, Afrolev in Russia. I post, link in the description, I post videos about Russia, and my main thing is that I interview foreigners and Russian people all over Moscow, and I get different opinions and experiences. You can also find me on Telegram. I have my own Telegram channel, and I'm also on Instagram. And also, if you're into Facebook, I have a little Facebook group as well. See you there. See you in Moscow.
All right, so this was Afrolev here in Moscow, amazing Moscow, may I add. And if you want to see more of my and Afrolev's interactions, interviews or whatever, just comment down below. Subscribe to his channel if you're new to my channel as well. Of course, hit the like button and subscribe. And I see you hopefully soon enough, my friend.
Sure.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Выходила на берег Катюша, на высокий, на берег крутой.
Or I look like I am funded by the government. Disclaimer, I'm not. I wish I was. I probably would enjoy the funds, but no. 对啊，我会中文，你想我说什么？ I said, yeah, I speak Chinese. What would you like me to say? 大家好，我叫安迪，你可以叫我 Afrolev 的。现在我在莫斯科，我就在莫斯科。我的妻子是俄罗斯人，我是津巴布韦人。